All right, everyone, welcome to the Real Estate Game Changers Show. I'm your host, Mike McKay, based in Jacksonville, Florida. And each and every week, we do this show with people who are changing the game of real estate all over the country. And this is a live show. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments for our guests to answer. If anyone is in the Jacksonville area and you're in sales and you're thinking about getting into real estate, send me a DM on Instagram. We are hiring one more salesperson for our acquisitions team. This week on the show, we have Ben Pijanowski. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Excited to get into it today.
Let's do it. So, for the people who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the real estate business and how that's led you to where you are today?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, just to kind of start out with some context, I am a land investor, I'm a land guy. So, when it comes to real estate, land is our bread and butter here at Assets for Acres. So, I started my own land business in 2021 because I heard of a podcast called RE Tipster from my friend Ajay Sharma, who is now my current business partner. So, in 2021, I bought the course RE Tipster just to learn about land and how a land business works. So I got the LLC ready. I got my Chase business banking account. And lo and behold, I never did a single transaction in
Mm,
that business. So I just discovered that I didn't really like being a solopreneur. I wanted to be in a business with other people and collaborating. Because we talk about the E Myth by Michael Gerber. There are
mhm,
three different types of business people. You have the entrepreneur, you have the manager, and you have the technician. After I read that book, I knew that I was a manager and not the entrepreneur. So I knew that at some point I needed to be that manager within a business, and being that solopreneur wasn't the right fit for me. So I was
mm,
still working my corporate job at that time at KPMG. I'm a CPA by trade, so I was working at a big four accounting firm. And it just wasn't quite the path that I saw for myself for the future of my life. So I saved up $35,000 and I said, you know what? I'm going to retire down to Mexico. So in Mexico, I
huh.
could have lived for $200 a month and kept my cost of living at $200 a month for the rest of my life and lived off that 35 grand. I went down to Mexico for a week and decided it was not for me. I had too much energy left and could not go into retirement at the age of 24. So, and I came back from Mexico after 1 week. Came back to the states, and I gave my friend Ajay Sharma a call at the
Mm,
beginning of 2022. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about getting a land business going again. I think it would be a good thing for me to get into. I had always loved real estate. I started listening to Bigger Pockets in, I don't know, 2014 when I was a sophomore in high school. So I've always had a passion for real estate. So I brought this up to Ajay and he said, well, I already have my business running and it's fairly established. Why don't we just partner and try to JV some deals together? So
mm,
I took a day to sit on it, and after that day, I said, I'm all in. Let's do it. So we decided to JV on some deals. He fronted the marketing costs, then we worked together on the operations of figuring out what types of deals we wanted to do on the land side. So that
mm.
was our first kind of test as to us working together as business partners, because we always like to talk about you want to date before you get married. So that was our chance to kind of figure out, is this going to be something we could do long term? We'd always figured, we had met each other in college. We always figured that somewhere along the lines we'd be working together. We just didn't expect it to be this soon. So that
Mm.
was really nice that we could already test it out when we were really young. And I had my cost of living really, really low. And Ajay was still working his corporate job. So we had relatively low risk to just test out the land business and see how we could build it and in what way we could build it. So that was a really good chance for us to figure out, okay, what does the future look like? And then from there, we just started building and doing more and more deals. So right now we have a
Mm.
team of 7. We have 4 overseas, 3 in the US, and then me and Ajay running the business as co-owners together. So right now I am the integrator slash COO of the company.
Mhm.
So everybody reports to me on a daily basis with any problems, challenges they have. And I try to build the systems and operations around the business to always funnel leads and opportunities into the business and try to get us to where Ajay's vision is leading us. And
Mm,
Ajay's role in the company is the CEO and visionary. So he's trying to paint the picture for the business of where we're trying to get to, where we can go in 10 years, 5 years, a year, a quarter, a month from now. And I'm saying, okay, here's where we are right now as a business. Can we get to where you see our picture getting to? What's the roadmap for me to guide this ship to get us in that direction? So that's what I'm thinking about on a daily basis. Where are
mm,
we at right now? Where do we need to get to? And how do we fill that gap with the operational capacity, training, and skill sets of our team at the moment? And I try my best to coach our team to its best ability and up level people as much as possible so that we can
mm.
continue to grow on a daily basis and get better, always continually getting better and growing as a company together. Our three core values are enthusiasm, dependability, and growth. So we
Mm.
focus solely on those core values to make sure that we're always coming back to those and operating our business based on our core values and trying to lead and take our company into the future and keep growing and getting better every single day.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier you were, figuring out like what type of land you would want to go after. If someone were trying to figure out what type of land they should go after, like how would you advise that they go about that?
Yeah, I really think you want to start with the shotgun method if you're really starting out brand new. And a shotgun method, I say, is just all the land because you don't really know what
Hmm.
you're going to get back. So I think it's really, if you're trying to get a land business started, my recommendation would be to start with cold calling because you can
Okay.
buy a list from PropStream for $99 a month. That's
Hmm.
PROPSTREAM, and just select vacant land. And then from there, you can skip trace. We use a service called Direct Skip. You can skip trace for a couple $100 for 2,000 records. And if you have
Mm.
2,000 records for about 300, $350, that gives you plenty of records to call. And we use a service called Open Phone, which is $15 a month.
Mm.
So about $350 to get you started on 2,000 records. If you call all the landowners in the county you live in, that's my recommendation. Pick the
Mm.
county that you live in, all the vacant lands. That means you have to deselect for bedrooms, deselect for bathrooms, deselect for garages, deselect for units. You don't want to have any livable square footage on your property record that you pull. So everything within PropStream that you want to pull, those 2,000 records, it's just going to be vacant land. So you pull 2,000 people, you call them, and you see how much they're willing to sell their land for. If you call
Mm.
2,000 people, there is a good chance that somebody will want less for their property than market value.
Mm. And then, so I know that's your advice on how do people should go about it. Is that how you went about it?
How did I go about it? I started with direct mail. So I learned from the RE
Okay.
Tipster podcast, and the
Okay.
RE Tipster method is to start with the delinquent tax list. So what I
Hmm.
started
Okay.
doing was mailing delinquent tax owners for
Hmm.
their vacant land and just sending direct mail postcards,
Hmm.
which was great because you get a lot of motivated sellers, and so I got a lot of good motivated leads, but I just did not have a lot of sales training at that time because I was deep spreadsheet monkey, just doing my
Yeah.
thing in corporate America. I did not have a lot of never split the difference training. So I admittedly was not a great salesperson at that time. So I did not convert a lot of those deals. Somebody may who has a lot of sales experience may be able to convert those really well. But that's where I just think like the reps is the biggest piece. If
Mm.
you can cold call 2,000 people, you're just going to learn more about the area, learn what land is valued at, how much per acre, what people really do with their land, what the goal is of the asset class, because it's so important to know what commodity you're trading, whether that's
Mm.
mobile homes, single family homes, land. And the more time you spend talking with owners of that commodity, the more you're going to learn about that commodity. And I just wasn't spending enough time with the direct mail leads because it was more of an inbound marketing channel. So that's why my recommendation, if I was starting again and I had to give advice to myself, I would say cold call 2,000 property owners because you're going to learn
Mm.
a lot about land and learn a lot about value of land in your market.
Mm. What's your favorite type of land to buy or favorite type of land deal to do?
I'll tell you about a project we have right now. So
Okay.
We have 107 acres just south of Waco, Texas.
Okay.
And it is a beautiful piece of property. And it is just wide open, 107 acres, right on a highway, which can be a plus and can be a minus. It's right close to town, but it's also got so much road frontage that it allows us to split it into separate tracks. So we're splitting the
Mm,
107 acres into five 20 plus acre tracks, and then we're going to sell each of those off into individual tracks to individual owners at the end of the day. And what you can do, it's very similar to if you go to Costco and you buy a full packet of water bottles, and then you take individual water bottles and you sell them out on the street. You're going to be able to charge a lot more for the individual water bottles than you are for that
mm,
full pack from Costco. Let's say you paid $5 for a 24 pack at Costco, and then
sure.
you end up selling $1 or $2 per bottle of
Hmm.
that 24 pack. That's 24 to $48 on that $5 pack of water that you bought at Costco. That's a
Hmm.
pretty good margin, but it just takes work to find that end buyer. And that's our job, is to find the end
Mm.
buyer for those smaller tracks.
And in a deal like that, like, are you buying it, closing on it, subdividing and selling it, or is it like, or how does it work, I guess?
That's correct. So we're working
Okay.
with external funders outside of our business. So we
Okay.
have relationships with people who have the purchase price was $560,000 all in, and we're putting $80,000 to $100,000 into the property. And at the end of the day, it's going to be worth 1.2 to 1.5 million. So our
Mm.
investors are going to get preferred returns on the equity within the deal, and then we get our split as well. And then so that we're technically taking down the project, we're buying it. It's in Assets for Acres ownership right now. At the moment, we've already closed on it, and we're
Okay.
doing all the improvements while it's within our ownership. And
Mm.
each of those tracks will be sold from Assets for Acres to an end buyer.
And then, like you said, you were spending about 80 to I think 80 to 100 on it. Like, what are you doing that like costs that?
Yeah. So we're putting in culverts into. So
Uh,
right now there it's vacant land. So there's no improvements on it. There's just trees. There's a
hmm.
fence there, but there's a big ditch going from the highway to the
Uh,
property. So in
okay.
order to get to the property, you kind of have to jump over the ditch, which is not
Mm.
what we want for our end buyers. We want our end
You'll
buyers to
turn
just
off for the end buyer.
drive right onto that land, right, Mike? And
Yeah.
just we're smooth sailing into their driveway and can just picture this beautiful fantasy for their future family or whatever they want to do with their property. But right now they can't do that without the culverts. So we have to
Mm.
put in culverts, we have to put in driveways, we have to get
Hmm.
all the permitting from Texas Department of Transportation, and we have to have all the water taps ready for the
Ah.
end buyers. Because in Texas, water is a very precious commodity
Mm.
because it does not
So,
rain.
so do you envision like what do you envision that your end buyers doing with the 20-acre tracts that they buy from you?
So a lot of people are looking to move from the city to more rural areas.
Hmm.
We're finding, especially in Dallas, people love having places they can go to just escape from the noise, right? So
Hmm.
people want to have that home outside of the city where it's 20 plus acres, and they might have a pond, they may have a couple animals out on the property, and
Hmm.
really they're just able to hunt, fish, do whatever they want with that property. So sometimes it's going to be a second home for people, but most times it's
Hmm.
just going to be a principal residence, whether
Hmm.
they have a mobile home, a manufactured home, or a large residence. They're going to have that space to have some privacy out on their
Hmm.
acreage, which is what they're looking for.
Do do like tracts of land that are that large, like do they take longer to sell than, I don't know, smaller tracts of land or than single family homes?
It really depends. I will say that the single family homes definitely move a lot faster than land in general,
Hmm.
just because it's more of a known commodity and more of an asset that people use continually every day.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, land has to be more so improved.
Hmm.
So we find that infill lots are going to be the fastest. Infill lots are, let's say you have a 100 to 120 lot subdivision. Infill lots are just a quarter acre lot that you're going to find next door to you in Jacksonville,
Yep.
right? So those are infill lots. We work more in rural recreational land, which is 5 acres plus. So you're going to find
Hmm.
all different builds and shapes and sizes for these lands, but it's probably going to take a little bit more time to sell unless you're
Hmm.
in a really hot market. So this property is in Hill County, Texas, which is a
Hmm.
very hot market in Texas. So
Okay.
we're thinking a lot of times land can take 3 to 6 months to sell. We're hoping that we can sell these in just a couple months, if not sooner, because the
Okay.
market is so highly in demand.
Hmm. So I guess like how are you like what made you decide to go after the rural recreational 5 acres plus versus the infill lots?
So we found that there was just a lot of competition, especially at the end of 2022
Hmm.
in the infill lot sector, because a lot of builders started marketing to our sellers.
Really?
So
Okay.
builders were able to pay 80 to 90% of market value. And when we're going in offering 50 cents on the dollar for a lot of these lots, we're just
Hmm.
going to be outbid by these builders 10 times out of 10.
Hmm.
But we find that builders don't really market to these rural recreational tracts because they have no use. They want a tract of land that's already shovel ready. So we're
Yep.
working on another project, an entitlement project on the east side of Dallas, where we're creating these paper lots, 64 1 acre lots out of an 80 plus acre tract. And
Hmm.
we're passing that off to a horizontal developer who's going to create them and grade them and scale them and get them ready, shovel ready for the end builder. And that
Hmm.
builder just wants them ready to go. They don't want to do the horizontal development. So they just want the lots ready to go. And that's who they're going to be marketing to is the
Hmm.
infill lots that are already ready to go. So we just find there's less competition when we are looking at other competitors within the market, especially big scale competitors. When you talk about the DR Hortons or the
Yeah.
large corporations that are publicly traded, it's harder to compete with them. It's easier to compete when you're playing in more of a local sandbox where you have more of a
Hmm.
chance and can have more of an authentic trust and rapport built with the sellers on an
Hmm.
individual basis.
Gotcha. And we were talking offline before about some leadership stuff. So do you want to share a little bit about your leadership background?
For sure. So, just some context. So, we have a team of 7 right now,
Hmm.
and that is part of the job that gives me so much life because it's just so enjoyable to work with other people within a business, people who you really care about, people who you
Hmm.
know you can help build their dreams and goals. And that's what I think is so unique about small business is you really feel like you're in a team. You feel like you're in a boat rowing together.
Hmm.
And my goal is to be a general of that team and just guide everybody together and help them see the best version of themselves because I know when I'm the best version of myself, I'm the best contributor to my team. So my hope is that if I can help everybody else become the best version of themselves, they're going to bring their best to our company as well.
Hmm.
So, where does my leadership background start? It starts in 2014. 2014, I was nominated by my high school guidance counselor to be our representative from my high school to a leadership camp called Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership. It's called HOBY, and
Yeah.
I went in 2014. So I went to Hobie, Indiana, because I'm from Indiana originally. It happened in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I went for 4 days and learned all about leadership. Now I was just a sophomore in high school, going to into my junior year of high school, and I really had no idea what leadership was about. I was
Hmm.
more of a shy, reserved kid at this time, and I didn't really see myself as a leader within the community. But that's where leadership really came into my life because I got to go to this camp and they talked about the different types of leaders.
Hmm.
about how there are so many different archetypes of leaders and how every archetype is important, and how no matter who you are or how you're wired or how you're built, you can make a significant contribution to any team, any group, any community you find yourself within. So that was important for me to see that, oh, yes, I'm very detail oriented. I like spending more time by myself, but I can also make a significant contribution to a team if I understand everybody else and
Hmm.
help put the pieces together as best we can. So, fast forward from 2014, I volunteered for 7 years after that and went back to the camp and helped volunteer with the camp to give back. So, I would be in various roles throughout the years, just trying to put on the seminar every year. And finally, the
Hmm.
last 2 years, I got to have my own group. And that was such a blessing because I got to see it from the other side of being a facilitator of these high school sophomores and speak into them this leadership concept that, hey, you are great, you are more, you can be a leader, and just seeing so much potential within them and helping them realize that potential. So I learned so much from that camp that I have then taken a lot of that and repurposed it within the business. So we
Hmm.
like to use two main personality tests. We like to use Myers-Briggs and Enneagram. Those are the two main tests we live by
Hmm.
because Ajay and I love them personally to use in our personal relationships. So we feel like it's been good to use them in our business relationships as well. So
Hmm.
everybody that joins our team, they take the Myers-Briggs assessment and they take the Enneagram assessment as well.
Hmm.
And what I do as a COO, I feel like it's my duty to understand the team as best as I can. So what I do is every time somebody joins our company, I read through their entire assessment and understand, okay, how do they want to be treated? What do they need? What are they motivated by? And how are they going to be most fulfilled within their role? Because
Hmm.
I want them to feel like they are coming like their true selves to the table and don't feel like they need to put on a mask when they're with our company.
Yeah.
That's the goal. So I read through the Myers Briggs. I see the Enneagram. The Enneagram also has a great tree of how Enneagrams work with other types of Enneagrams. So it helps me understand how certain people are going to work with each other within the team. So maybe one person will work better with this person, or maybe this
Hmm.
person won't work well with this person. So then we interchange all these pieces. So I really see my team as like all these interchangeable parts of how they can be most effectively working together within a daily basis, and operationally how they can best be utilizing their full potential. So I try to
Hmm.
understand my team as best as I can and then keep them motivated and also show them, hey, this is the future vision I have for you. I think you can be great. Let's get you there. I'm going to challenge you in a couple of these areas, and it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but discomfort is where we have the most growth. So I'm going to
Hmm.
challenge you in ways that will seem weird, but trust me, you're going to be much better because of it. And I have so much belief, so much trust in you that you're going to be so good. And I can't wait to see this next version of you and where it takes you in our business.
Hmm. And then I've never really heard of the Enneagram. So what does that do that's different than the Myers-Briggs?
Yeah. So the Enneagram really gets into motivations.
Huh.
Who do you
Okay.
want to be as a person? So it's Enneagram Institute, ENNEAGRAM. They have plenty of free assessments on there, but we have a lot of type ones, type twos, and type sevens, just for an example. So type
Okay.
one is a perfectionist, type two is a helper, and type seven is an enthusiast. Okay, Ajay is our only type seven, and he's the enthusiast, and we love him for it. So the type seven is the fun person. They want to have fun. They want to have variety. They want to enjoy and have a lot of fun within their lives, right? The type one is the perfectionist. The perfectionist wants to make sure that the systems are running perfectly, that everything in their life is set and routine based, and they're very disciplined, and they're going to continue to show up as themselves and try to get better every single day. I'm a type one.
Hmm.
And then type
Sure.
twos are helpers. Helpers want to contribute and help as much as they can, sometimes even to the detriment of their own incentives. So they'll try to help and give as much assistance in whatever way they can. So a couple of our team members are so good at just always being ready. Like whatever we need, they'll step in and they'll
Hmm.
help. And that's just so helpful to have within a business because you're always having to stay adaptable. You never know what the next month is going to look like because you always come into new challenges. So having
Mm,
type twos on the team has been so valuable for us to know that whatever comes and whatever challenges come across, we'll have people ready to help because people are always ready for a new challenge. So we're really happy and proud of the makeup that we have right now on our team. But like I said, just understanding those motivations and understanding those
mm,
personality assessments for me as a leader of the company, I think is, like I said, is my duty to understand, okay, what do people want out of their daily lives? How do we make sure that what they're doing on a daily basis at work is fulfilling them and serving their purpose?
mm. And then, um, what profile are your salespeople? I'm curious.
What profile are our
What
salespeople? So
Enneagram profile? Yeah.
Enneagram, our acquisitions manager is a type two, so she's a helper.
Hmm.
And then our dispositions manager is a type one, a
Inter-
perfectionist.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like to say that there is no right type for a role because
Okay.
we really feel like you can train up skills, but you can't train core values. So we
Hmm.
always hire by our core values: enthusiasm, dependability, and growth. And we know that no matter what personality type we have in those roles, we know that if they bring the core values to the table, we can train them up. I also think it's something you can consider when you're hiring as well. I mean, I like to think of acquisitions more as like lion personalities when you think of just the animal kingdom. And
Hmm.
then similar with dispositions managers, you probably want more of a lion personality. But in terms of
Yeah.
like lead managers, I like to think of more like a golden retriever. So a lead manager is
Mm,
what some people call intake managers, people who just
okay.
build the rapport on that first call with sellers. I like to think of more like golden retriever energy where you're just getting to know the person. Maybe you spend 30 minutes on the phone, just building that
Mm,
rapport, talking about dogs, talking about colleges, talking about high schools, whatever, just spending time with that person. And that's really where the golden retriever energy, I think, comes into play and is really important for that front end. Whereas opposed to when you're getting into negotiations, you need a bit more of an aggressive approach where you're more fighting for your price, which
mm,
may be harder for the golden retriever personality to do. That's where we get a lot more specialized within our company because we have a lot of
mm,
specialized roles, and I feel like that has been effective for us to treat the various pieces of our pipeline in
mm.
different ways based on what personality type we have sitting in each seat.
Gotcha. And then what about your hiring process? Because obviously part of being a good leader is hiring the right people to start.
Absolutely, and definitely a big piece too is firing. So
Well, yeah.
we have fired
Yeah.
unfortunately three people within our company, and we are not slow to fire. We are fast to fire. So
Hmm.
unfortunately, we had to let someone go the day we hired them. We had to let another person go a week after we hired them.
Mm,
But we are so intent on our core values, like I said, that if people do not fit our core values,
mm,
they will not last long here. And we have such a great team that has instilled in themselves our core values that is just such an innate natural piece of our culture that if somebody
mm,
comes into our company and doesn't exhibit those core values, it's like scratching a chalkboard. You can tell right away when people don't fit, and that has been so helpful for us to kind of weed out the people that don't have a long-term future here. But when it comes to the hiring process, I can kind of
mm.
break down how we
Yeah.
go through our process. So it starts
Uh-huh.
first with a group interview. So we have some pre-screens before the group interview with someone on our team, just a 5-10 minute phone call to make sure that people are
Mm,
qualified for the group interview. And they have to pass through all these detailed tests through our job descriptions. Say you love your favorite food or your favorite color, you gotta send those to us in your response email. That way we know you're detail oriented and are not just
mm,
clicking apply, 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 right? We want to make sure that people, we also have a Loom video on our job listings. So people will watch that Loom video and hopefully resonate with something. Usually it's Ajay giving the presentation. Hey, these are our core values. We hope that people will go through our job listing and
mm,
resonate with that Loom video and want to apply to our position. So then once we get through that screening process, 5 to 10 minute phone call, we go into that group interview. in that group interview, it's going to be 10 to 15 applicants that we send an invitation to, because not
Mm.
everybody's going to show up, because people are applying to jobs all the time. People are getting jobs all the time while they're applying to jobs.
Hmm.
So
Sure.
we assume about 60% of those people are going to show up. So 6 to 10 people are going to show up for that group interview, and we're going to know immediately who is qualified for that next round, just based on vibes, based on values, based on answers
Mm.
to the questions. So then people who are qualified from the group interview, 1 to 2 to 3, will get individual one-on-one interviews with me and Ajay.
Mm. Okay.
And all of our questions, Mike, within our hiring process are based on our core values: enthusiasm, dependability, and
Mm.
growth. And so we may not say them explicitly. We're not going to ask, "Oh,
Yeah.
are you enthusiastic? Oh, are you dependable?" No, we're going to
Sure.
ask it in different ways, throughout the interview process. Maybe 8 to 10 questions for these
Mm.
people that are applying in different ways. Oh, what is something you really enjoy doing? And then we're going to see, oh, do they light up when they talk about books? Oh, do they light up when they talk about kayaking? Whatever they're excited about, we want to hear that excitement, because we want them to have that same excitement when they come to work. And then we have
Yeah.
dependability. What would your coworkers say about you in the past? Because we want to hear, oh, yes, my coworkers would say I show up every day and I do the things that I say I'm going to do. And then
Mm.
growth. What do you feel like you're learning about right now? Oh, I love learning about nutrition or something like that. Oh, okay, great.
Mm.
So you're always learning, you're always trying to do new things. That's exactly the type of people that work here at Assets for Acres, right?
Mm.
So then from there, we may give an offer to 1 or 2 people out of those one-on-one interviews. We may give an offer to zero of those people
Yeah.
from those one-on-one
Sure.
interviews. We It's hard to know. It's never going to be the same process, because it's just very much like sales. You're always going to have a pipeline of people. Some will convert, some won't convert. So we go through that process, and then once the people are hired, they've signed their contract with us. We then onboard them, and part of the onboarding process is going through the core values once again, and then we highlight, okay, these are some of the rules we have within the business. We use the 1-3-1 rule by Dan Martell. You have one problem. If you have a problem, state what the problem is. You have 3 suggestions for me before you come to me, and then you have one recommendation of those 3 suggestions of how you would solve the problem once
Hmm.
you bring the problem to me. So that's part of our process of onboarding is, hey, we instill this within our company because we think we have problem solvers within our company. Ajay
Mm.
and I don't solve all the problems within our business. Our company solves the problems within the business as a
Mm.
collective unit, as a group. And that's what the goal is of this whole process, is to make sure that we have an autonomous team that is continually pushing the business forward all together, not on one person's shoulders, but all as a collective unit, because we are rowing the boat as a team. That's the goal.
Yeah. What what kind of questions are you? Is it similar questions on that group interview? And like, how do you kind of handle that? I mean, you got 10 people in like a Zoom room or something. That feel like get a little hectic. Like, how do you structure that?
Yeah, like I said, so you usually only have 6 to 10 people within
Yeah.
that 30 to 45 minute interview.
Mhm.
And you'll find very quickly that some people just have 1 to 2 word answers. So we
Mm.
ask 2 to 3 to 4 questions of those 6 to 10 people in that group interview. And you'll tell very quickly who is engaged, who's ready to go, who's ready to attack the day, who is very excited to come to that interview. Because you may have some people who are sitting in that interview and just haphazardly showed up and really don't want to be there, and you'll tell right away. So it's very, very telling on that group interview
Mm.
who's ready to go and who's ready to go to the next level. And that 30 to 45 minute group interview has proven to be very effective for us to save a lot of time on the front end to weed out candidates who are just not qualified and not ready to go to the next level with us.
So if you have a like, 2 to 4 questions, are you asking the question and then saying candidate one, give your answer, candidate two, give your answer to the same question? Is that how it works or?
Exactly that. And we'll
Okay.
usually go in the same order for the group. We'll start with Joe and then go to John and then go to Sarah. And then the next question we'll say, okay, Joe, you start us off again, and then go to John and then go to Sarah. That way it's very consistent and everybody gets time. And if anybody's going too long, we'll say, oh, sorry, Joe, it's been 2 or 3 minutes. We're going to have to go to the next person, but thank you for your response. Just so that we can
Mm.
keep things moving and everyone gets time to say the responses. But I mean, we've
Mm.
even had people leave mid call. during interviews because they just weren't ready to do the thing. So you never really know what's going to happen throughout that interview, but we want to make sure we at least give everybody a couple minutes on each question to prove that they're ready for the next round. And like I said, we'll tell very, very quickly who's ready to go to the next round, just based on vibes and based on if they're ready to show up.
Gotcha. And then you mentioned a little bit about onboarding, what you said with kind of the Dan Martell role.
Yeah.
What else do you feel is an essential part of onboarding for you?
Yeah, so I give like a full presentation. I have a full PowerPoint presentation
Okay.
that I give every time someone joins our team with our core values and our definitions on our core values. And then we break down the strategies within the business, why we do what we do, what is land, why do we trade land. We have several podcasts that Ajay and I have been on that we use as
Uh,
training to say, hey, this is what we do on a daily basis. This is what we believe in. Learn a little bit more about our company through the owner's interviews, and then give us some of your takeaways. And then from there, we'll explain more about the job, what the individual job looks like, and
mm,
give specific training on that job. So let's say we have a lead manager join the team. We'll give them lead manager calls, sample calls that other people have
mm,
done before, and say, hey, listen to these. Let me know if you have any questions. You're going to be doing a lot of this on a daily basis. We want to make sure we're getting this right.
mm,
So making sure that we're not rushing people into the business, but also pushing them enough to say, hey, you're going to be making calls by Wednesday. That's the hope. We need to make sure we have any questions ironed out before Wednesday. So we
mm.
want to make sure you have as many resources as you need to be successful. And we always say, who's the most important person in charge of your success at this company? And our hope is that the answer
Yeah.
is always going to be me, right?
Come on.
Not me, Ben, but me, the
Yeah.
person on the other
Yeah.
side of that call, right? So that's the goal is every person that comes through the business, we talk about autonomy. We want to have a
Mm,
group of workers within our company that are autonomous and happy to show up every day for work and taking ownership of their role and taking
mm,
ownership of the results and taking responsibility for pushing their side of the business forward because we know we do that in our position and we hope that everybody who comes to work for us does the exact same when they join Assets for Acres.
gotcha. And then like as have people working for you and probably some people work for you for quite a long time, like how are you making sure that you're continuing to be an amazing leader to them?
I always like to say to people that ask me about leadership, what are you doing to be a leader that you would follow? Because that's a question that I'm asking myself continually every single day. I
Mm,
know that I push myself harder than anybody could possibly push me because I have these
mm,
standards that are so high
mm,
for myself. So I know that I have to be a good role model and a good example for the rest of my team. So I push myself so hard. I have no vices. I go to the gym 6 out of 7 days a week. I eat very healthfully, and I make sure that I am in a position to show up every single day and give my best version
mm,
to the team. And I know if I'm doing that, it's going to raise everybody else's standards to meet me. Now, I also give some grace for people because I don't expect everybody to have the same standards that I have.
mm,
And
sure.
that's an important aspect of being a leader as well as you need to have empathy. And I know everybody has a different situation within our team, and I'm going to meet them where they are, but I'm going to push them just a
Mm,
little bit more, just a little bit, because I know that where they could possibly get to
mm,
is not that far off from where they are right now. They just need a little bit of a push, and I'm going to be willing to give them that push. We have quarterly check ins, quarterly one on ones every quarter, and that's my opportunity to give each of my team members a little bit of a push
mm,
because we talk about, hey, where you are from the past quarter, where are you going into this coming quarter? What can we do to continue to up level you?
mm,
And that's always a great opportunity to say, hey, I think this might be a little challenge for you. What do you think about this? Do you think this is a worthwhile thing to take on? Yes or
mm,
no? Do I have your permission to challenge you a bit? Yes or no? Okay, great. Let's try to get there together because it's not just me trying to push my team, it's me trying to push my team to push themselves. And
Mm,
that's the beauty in it. If I can get them to raise their standards for themselves, then that's a goal accomplished for me, because I want to see everybody living their best lives and proud to be who they are, because I know I'm proud of where I've gotten, but I know I have so much further to push, and I hope everyone else around me feels the same, and that's a goal for me as a leader.
gotcha. And then how you said meeting people where they are. How are you figuring out where they are?
Yeah, I feel like it just comes down to listening.
Mm,
Being an active leader within a business requires active listening.
mm,
Active leadership is active listening. So we have weekly calls. We call them weekly culture calls, where we
okay.
share wins on a weekly basis with the team. We also have a weekly team time, where just the team meets without us. So we put a
Oh,
lot of
without the leadership.
exactly. So
Oh,
we put a lot
interesting.
of emphasis on our team bonding not only with us as owners, but with themselves individually as a
Mm,
team.
mm-hmm,
So like I said, when it comes to active listening, when a team member tells us that they're struggling with something, or they're pushing or pursuing something outside of the business, we're going to
mm,
celebrate them, and we're going to be excited for them pushing themselves or really trying their best to show up even on hard days, because we really consider ourselves to be a full team of leaders. Like, every person within our company is a leader.
mm,
So we want to make sure we're understanding that we are serving our team as best as we can. So I always ask within our quarterly one on ones, are we serving your professional goals right
mm,
now as a company? If yes, great. If not, how can we serve you better? Are we serving your
mm,
personal goals right now? If yes, in what ways are we serving your personal goals? If not, how can we serve you better? So that's a question I ask every single person in our quarterly one on ones every single quarter. So
mm,
that's the opportunity for me to understand, okay, are you doing okay in terms of your fitness goals? Are you doing okay in terms of your financial goals? Are you doing okay in terms of your family goals? Yes or
mm,
no? How can we serve you and support you in a better way to help you get to that place that you want to be? Because that's our goal at the end of the day, is that our business serves our company and our workers as much as it serves our clients.
yeah. And then you mentioned like the personal goals. So what are you doing to help identify? Because sometimes like people start working for you like, and some people don't have goals, right? They may be driven, but like they never actually like sat down and like thought about their goals. So I'll start with how are you helping them identify their personal goals?
Yeah, I think that really started at the beginning of the year. And I think it always starts at the beginning of the
Mm,
year, because when you get it to the beginning of the year, everyone's in New Year's resolution mode
sure.
setting, right? So when everyone else is in that setting, it makes it easier to fall into that setting. So we had several conversations at the beginning of the year with our team around goal setting. What are your
Mm,
goals for the year? Where do you want to get to? Where did we go last year? And what are some reasonable goals here for this year?
mm,
And then from there, that's where the quarterly check-ins are super important to make sure that, hey, I noticed you mentioned this at the beginning of the year. Are you still tracking on that? Are you still pursuing that? Are you
mm,
still on track to get to a certain milestone that you were hoping to by this point in the year? If yes, great. If no, what do we need to do to help you get there?
mm,
And just taking time to really, like I said, listen to the person, because goals may change. Goals always change. Sometimes they may change throughout the year. And if a goal has changed and I'm not aware of it, and I'm trying to serve a goal that is no longer a goal that my teammate is trying to pursue, then I
mm,
need to be back in alignment with that goal. And
mm,
that's where I think a lot of that personality understanding comes into play, is when you understand the personality of the person, you can understand, okay, I see a change here. I see a change in motivation.
mm,
Let's talk about this. Is this
mm,
still serving you? If not, what do we need to do to change to make sure that you're feeling like you're valued and feeling like we're making progress towards where you want to go? Because our hope is that every person that joins our company has a place to grow. And that's
Mm,
our job as leaders within the company, is to set a vision so big. And this is something that Ajay pushes me on so well, is he's always challenging me on what's our Mount Everest for the year. Do we have a big enough Mount Everest that
mm,
everybody else's dreams and goals can fit within our Mount Everest?
mm,
And that's a hard challenge to push for, but
sure.
that's the hard that we want, is to have
Mm.
a hard challenge to push so big that we have that capacity for everyone else to have big dreams within our company.
Are you guys mostly remote?
That's correct. So me and Ajay, we are in the same house right now, and so we've been working together physically here, which has been phenomenal. I think it's
Mm,
just dynamite when you can be in the same location as your business partner and anybody else on your team. So that's been phenomenal for us. We have three other people in the U.S. who are spaced throughout the U.S. geographically, so they are virtual, and then
mm,
four overseas in the Philippines who I actually visited in May. So I have met them in person, and then we are
uh-huh.
having an event September 27th and 28th here in Dallas, and I'll be able to meet the rest of our team
Mm,
here in Dallas. So 2024 will be the year that I'll be able to meet every person from Assets for
mm,
Acres in person, and I'm super stoked for that because I had such a great time meeting our team in the Philippines, just connecting with them, understanding their culture, just hearing their language and being with them, being present. I was able to go for a team member's wedding. So being able to be a part of that experience for
huh.
something that she'll remember for the rest of her life, and just be able to share that with her and her family. And the rest of the team from the Philippines came to that wedding as well and
Wow.
attended, and we all got together and just spent those couple of days there together, just celebrating her and celebrating what we've built so far at Assets for Acres. So we had a lot of fun over there. I'm glad I was able to meet everybody in person, because I feel like that human to human interaction is so
Hmm.
valuable. You get that time to really be face to face and just really show people that you care about them. Spending time, no phones, just sitting and being with each other, just having
Mm.
those hours was so valuable, and it was such a rewarding experience to go over there. So I'm excited for the 27th and 28th when I get to meet the rest of our team in person, because I know that'll be so valuable as well. Bless you.
Excuse me. What what specific challenges do you feel that you face from a leadership perspective with a remote team, and how have you overcome those challenges?
I feel like this is a big thing I've been working on this year, Mike, because with leadership, you're always learning. You're always trying to get better. There's always some new spot that you can learn more about, and that's the beauty of it. It's never complete. Just like business, it's never complete. And you're always learning, always growing, always getting better. So this year, my challenge has been to more so relinquish control of a lot of tasks
Hmm.
and let things go from my plate that I know my team is capable of doing, but maybe that I have trouble letting go.
Hmm.
So a lot of that has come down to giving trust to my team, believing in my team, telling my team, hey, I think you have the information you need here. I trust you to make the right decision. I believe in you to make the right decision. You just tell me when you make the decision and what the decision is, and we'll move forward from there.
Hmm.
Because I had to take myself out of being the approver or the
Hmm.
approval person and put myself into being a collaborator as
Hmm.
opposed to the person with the answers. So I decided to take more of a step back and say, hey, I don't know everything.
Hmm.
I think my team knows a lot more in a lot of ways than I do in many situations within the business. And I think they'll make a better decision than I would. And I'm going to let them know that. So I've had to have a lot of growth this year in terms of just saying, hey, I honestly don't know what the right decision is here, but I think you do. And I'm going to let you make that decision. And we're going to be okay with whatever happens from that decision. And we're going to move forward. And I'm
Hmm.
excited for the decision you're going to make, because I think you're going to make the right decision. And we'll see where that takes us.
Hmm. What other challenges have you faced with a remote team?
With the remote team, also just not having that daily interaction
Hmm.
where you see each other, where you have that face to face interaction, where
Mhm.
you're learning about each other's families. We have to be really intentional about that culture meeting to say
Mm.
we have 30 minutes for wins every week. Everyone shares their wins from the week. And that's where we've just had to really be adaptable to give that time. Yes, it might be important time to generate leads, to have sales calls, but we really think that that culture time is essential to us just getting to know everybody on the team.
Yeah.
So I think we've just had to be really strategic about the time for those meetings. We've
Mhm.
actually cut down a lot of our meeting time because we got some feedback from the team. We used to have daily stand-ups Monday through Thursday with the entire
Mm.
team. And
Wow.
I got some feedback in our quarterly one on ones. That's why the quarterly one on ones are so good. That our
Yeah.
team said, hey, I don't think everybody needs to be on these stand ups every single day. I think it might be wasting some people's time. And I think it might be better if you only have a couple people on the stand up every day. And then the
Mm.
people who don't have problems can just go and do their work and generate leads. So
Mm.
that's where I said, okay, I may have started the daily stand ups, but I'm not going to say we have to do the daily stand ups every day with everybody
Yeah.
because that's not serving everybody,
Mm.
especially when I get that feedback. So I
Yeah.
hear that and I say, okay, that's great feedback. Let's adjust.
Mhm.
And it's been an adjustment period, especially for me, because I was so used to every day
Mhm.
having this full daily meeting. So now saying, okay, let's adjust a bit. Let's see if these meetings are actually serving the team and if we're actually getting better and if we're actually solving problems every day or if we're just reporting. Because
Mm.
reporting versus problem solving is a very different thing. Reporting can
Mhm.
be done on a spreadsheet, and problem solving cannot be done on a spreadsheet. So
No.
it's a
No.
very different approach. And I think that's been helpful for me to kind of understand okay, daily stand ups every day maybe aren't exactly what we need. But
Mm.
that's why I try to get the feedback from the team because the
Yeah.
team is in charge of their success. And when they're in charge of their success, they're going to bring me issues of roadblocks that are getting in the way of their success. And that daily
Mm.
stand up was getting in the way of their success. And my job as a leader is to take away roadblocks as opposed to putting roadblocks in front of our team.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Um, well, we're getting close to the end here, and there's always two questions I like to ask at the end. First is just kind of a fun one, which is what is the craziest or most uncomfortable situation that you've ever experienced in a real estate deal?
So the craziest story we have is from a property in Texas, a vacant
Mm-hmm.
piece of land. It's in Hidalgo County, which is on the southern tip of Texas. It was a small 0.2 acre lot in Hidalgo County, Texas. And we
Okay.
were double closing this lot. We were going to make about $5,000 on it. So not a huge spread for us. We typically try to do between $15,000 and $20,000 on our double closes. So this was much on the smaller scale for us in terms of double closes. So we were having issues with the surveyor getting out there. So he goes out to the property and he says, "Well, there's a full fence up in front of the property and I can't get behind the fence because it was all barbed wire and it was all the way along from one wall of the neighboring property to the
Mm.
next wall of the next neighbor's property. You had a fence in that whole portion and it was all barbed wire. And he said, there's no way I can get on the property to survey it. And we said, okay, well, that's a fair issue. Yeah, you probably can't get in there to do the full survey. So we went on Craigslist and we hired somebody to take down the fence.
Hmm.
Well, that person goes out there day of, takes down the fence, and then he texts us a photo of a cow. Now, this, mind you, this is in the middle of a small town city. This is just a regular subdivision, like normal single family homes. And there's just a cow on this less than quarter acre lot sitting there.
Oh
And he
my
said, well, what do you want me to do about the cow?
God.
And we said, well, we didn't know there was a cow on there. So he says, well, there's a cow and it's tied up, so it looks like it should be fine. But I took down the fence and I just wanted you to be aware of that. So a couple minutes later, he gives us a call again. It's the neighbor. Apparently, it's the neighbor's cow.
Ah.
And the neighbor does not speak Spanish, but luckily he has a friend there, or who, he does not speak English, but luckily he has a friend there who does speak English. So his friend gets on the phone with me. He says, "Oh yes, sir, it's our cow. Do you need us to take the cow off the property?" He said, yes, please. Yes, we need you to take off the cow from the property. He said, oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, we can get that taken off today. I was like, okay, I don't know how you're going to get rid of this cow in a day. I
Yeah,
hope you have a
well,
trailer or something. I don't need to know what you're doing with the cow or how you're going to get rid of it or where you're going to put it. But you do what you got to do. So he's like, yeah, yeah, yes, sir. I'll get rid of the cow. So he takes the cow away. And the surveyor goes out there. We get the property platted. We close and we make our $5,000. But for about 24 hours there, we were just laughing like crazy because it was such a story that we had never come across before. So that was probably our craziest story that we've had with a cow on an infill lot in Hidalgo County, Texas.
I thought you were about to say that he sent you a picture of the fence and he took down the neighbor's fence by accident.
Luckily, that was not the case. So something much more unexpected happened for us.
Cool. Well, second question I always ask is if you could go back in time, give yourself one piece of advice when you were looking for your first deal, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself to purchase my first property in my personal name. I thought
Hmm.
that building a business meant having a business, but now I
Mm.
understand that having a business means doing business.
Mm.
I'll say that again. I thought that having a business meant having a business, but now I understand that having a business means doing business.
Yeah.
When I first came out of the corporate world, I didn't really understand how you made money without having a salary. So I
Mm.
understood it as you have to build a business that is worthy of doing business. But now I understand that, okay, you have to do marketing, you have to have a sales process, you have
Mm.
to do fulfillment. These are all the activities within a business that constitute a business. And if I could go back in time, I would tell Ben in 2021 to just go through and purchase a property in vacant land somewhere in Texas and just buy it in your personal name and try to find a way to flip it.
Yeah.
And I think I would have been much better served to have built a business by doing the business as opposed to having the business.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. A lot of people go out, start the LLC, get the business cards, but haven't made a phone call to a seller yet.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
well, Ben, if people want to reach out to you after the show, if they have questions for you about leadership or maybe they want to JV some land deals, how can they go about reaching you?
Yes, yes. So the best way to get in contact with me is through my personal Instagram, and that's going to be at Ben Pijanowski. That's BenPijanowski. I believe we have that on the screen right now. So if you want to connect with me on Instagram, that would be the best way to reach me. And then if you want to see me in person, I'll be in Dallas where we're having an event. Ajay Sharma is throwing it. He's my business partner. September 27th and 28th in Dallas, Texas. It'll be called the Land Scaling Summit. And if you want to go to
Oh,
landscalingsummit.com, tickets are available. I will be speaking at that event, having a fireside chat with Ajay just about leadership, day to day operations, routine, how to run and scale and systematize a land business. We're going to be having a full hour long discussion together. Should be a lot of fun. But if you want to meet me in person and have a conversation about any of these concepts I've spoken about here with Mike today, I would love to have a chat. I love those events, just getting to connect with many different real estate professionals. If you're excited about land, if you think it's something interested that you would want to get into, I would love to talk with you at that event. Like I said, it's September 27th and 28th here in Dallas, Texas. That's landscalingsummit.com. We would absolutely love to have you and would love to see you here.
awesome. Well, Ben, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike. It's been a pleasure.